99 Times of Love, Baby Close Your Eyes Chapter 1. Su Ying waited uncomfortably in the opulent living room. Servants came and went, and the butler, having brought her here, then left. She had no idea why she had been brought here. 2 hours earlier, she had accompanied her sister to the market, and on her way back, the butler and a group of men in black had stopped her. Her childhood experiences had inspired her to cultivate martial arts skills, but the enemy was outnumbered, and with her sister by her side, she stood no chance of victory. After a few blows, her sister fell to the men in black, and she was forced to stop. The men took her sister away, and the butler told her that only by following him could he guarantee her safety. And so, she was taken to this luxurious villa, one she had never even had the chance to examine. The butler had merely said someone wanted to see her, but upon reflection, she realized that with her circumstances, she had no chance of meeting someone from such a wealthy family, who could go to such great lengths to see her. She had been sitting there waiting for nearly an hour now. No one had paid her any attention except for a servant who brought her some tea. Unaware of their background and her first time in such a place, she dared not do anything but look around anxiously. The sky gradually darkened. Su Ying thought her father was still waiting for her and her sister to return, and her sister didn't know what was happening. A hint of anxiety welled up in her heart. She glanced at the servants coming and going, assuming they were preparing dinner. She made up her mind and decided to ask who the master of the house was and when he would return. Gathering her courage, she stepped forward and blocked a servant's path. "Excuse me, when will the master of this house return?" The servant, without even glancing up, said, "I'm sorry, we only handle household chores. We don't know anything else." He walked around her and walked away. Su Ying, unwilling to give up, pressed the question again, only to receive the same response. Helplessly, she sat back on the soft, comfortable sofa. Anxiety made her impatient, and she no longer cared about her appearance, simply lying down on it. Su Ying, who had been drowsy for a long time, woke up at the sound. She stretched and sat up, and slowly regained consciousness. She jumped off the sofa with a start. The living room door was now open. Not far away from her, a tall, elegantly dressed man, his chin in his hand, a smile on his face, was watching her with interest. Surrounding him stood several men in black suits and white shirts, resembling bodyguards. "It seems you've adapted to this place quite quickly. How is it? Do you like it here?" The handsome man approached her playfully and whispered in her ear. The hot breath from his mouth hit Su Ying's ear, causing her body to shiver. Men, women, and men should not touch each other. Su Ying rolled to the side, her hands making defensive gestures and speaking cautiously. The handsome man laughed for a moment and then said, "Looking at you, I'll give you a pass." "What do you mean?" Su Ying looked confused. "Do you really not remember, or are you just pretending?" The handsome man leaned in close, his eyes piercing her. Su Ying stared at him for a long moment, searching her memory, but it was still hazy. "Oh, how can a young girl have such a poor memory? Do you remember Bio Plaza?" The handsome man reminded her, arms folded, with a condescending air. Su Ying was instantly enlightened. That day at Bio Plaza, Su Ying was delivering a customer on her electric scooter. Passing by the mall, thinking of her sister's birthday, she parked her scooter at the entrance and went inside to pick out a birthday present. 10 minutes later, she returned to find a luxury car occupying the spot where her scooter had been parked. Turning her head slightly, she saw the owner of the culprit, dressed in casual clothes and sunglasses, leaning against the car, looking around. Beside him stood two of his men, respectfully attentive. Su Ying clenched her fists. This was still bearable. She took a deep breath and told herself to suppress her anger. But then she saw her beloved electric bike, pitifully pushed to the ground next to the luxury car, a small portion of the goods she had just delivered lying on it, spilling out. This scene was intolerable. In a rage, she rushed to the culprit in sunglasses and gave him a hard kick in the butt. Then she yelled, "Do you have any sense of public morality? I parked here first. Even if you need to, you should have the courtesy to move my car. What's the point of just pushing it aside? Do you have any sense of manners?" His two men were startled by this and rushed forward, intending to teach Su Ying a lesson. However, before they could even land a punch or kick, Su Ying knocked them to the ground with a few punches. The culprit rubbed his buttocks, looking Su Ying up and down in disbelief. After a moment, as if realizing something, he turned to his men and said, "Can you be a little more cowardly?" To avoid trouble, Su Ying glanced at the three of them with disdain, picked up her scooter, and stepped onto it. "If I see you guys being so uncivilized again, I'll beat the living crap out of you." He turned the key and prepared to leave. "Hey, beautiful girl, I see you've got some skills. How about being my bodyguard?" The man in sunglasses had never seen a woman who could easily defeat two tall men. His instinct told him that this woman was definitely much more interesting than the troublemaker who was constantly pestering him. And if he could get her, why would he be afraid of Yuchen? So he walked over to Su Ying and told her his plan. Su Ying put on her helmet, glared at him fiercely, said "Get lost," and walked away. The memory ended there, and Su Ying swallowed. At the time, she'd only tried to vent her frustration by giving them a little lesson, thinking she'd avoid causing trouble. But now, it seemed she'd gotten into serious trouble. You want this?" Her eyes, once filled with surprise and confusion, immediately turned to anger and indifference. She stared at the man before her tone cold. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Ying Wen, the owner of this house. Come on, introduce yourself." Ying Wen laughed heartily. "How could you bring me here and not know my name?" Su Ying gritted her teeth. "Ha ha ha, clever. I do know your name. I've even thoroughly researched your family background, work, and relatives. So now, you're like a little bird in my clutches." Ying Wen said nonchalantly. "What exactly do you want? And where did you take my sister? If you don't hand her over to me, I'll make you regret it." Su Ying glanced around. If there weren't other people behind this, it would be easy for her to take over this place. "I know you're capable, but don't you think about what will happen to your sister if you don't obey me. Staying calm was paramount at this critical moment. Su Ying struggled to calm herself and said, "Tell me, what do you want me to do?" "Be my bodyguard. I told you last time." Ying Wen smiled playfully. "You have so many people around you, and you still need a bodyguard. Do you really need me to be so blunt? I'm just interested in you." Ying Wen leaned back on the sofa and crossed his legs. "If you agree to my terms, I promise to release your sister immediately, and I'll also pay you a handsome monthly salary. It's definitely 1,000 times better than your job delivering groceries. Who knows the motives of a rich man like you?" Su Ying didn't believe he'd gone to such lengths to capture her just to give her such a good option. "I told you, because I'm interested in you. If you don't agree, then okay, you can leave now, but your sister won't be let go so easily." Ying Wen said, heading upstairs. "You're despicable." Su Ying cursed angrily, but ultimately compromised. Su Ying hadn't even had a chance to go home to see her when her bodyguard career began. She'd originally planned to at least go home to get some personal belongings and tell her father, but her request was rejected by Ying Wen. Later, Ying Wen personally took her upstairs to a room next to his. The room was fully equipped with computers, clothing, and other amenities, and was immaculately clean. Su Ying surveyed the room unwillingly. Honestly, living in such a nice room was something she had never imagined, ever since she was born. As for things like underwear, I don't know your size, but you can buy new ones. Any brand, any amount, Ying Wen said from behind her with a wicked smile. "You pervert." Su Ying, irritated, punched him in the stomach. Ying Wen's face twisted in pain. "Hey, I asked you to be my bodyguard, and you hit me instead. How's that for right?" Su Ying pouted. "It does seem a bit unreasonable. But whatever," she thought, then changed the subject. "Now you can let my sister go, right? Don't go back on your word." "I didn't say no." Ying Wen spread his hands. "But you haven't officially become my bodyguard yet. What if I release her and you run away? You're a good fighter and a fast runner, so where would I find you then? Then what do you want to do?" Su Ying bit her lip, looking at Ying Wen with a look of despair. Xi Yingwen walked to the cabinet, opened a drawer, and took out a contract. Sign this, and our relationship will be official. I'll release your sister immediately. Xi Yingwen smiled broadly and gestured to her. Su Yingying rolled her eyes at him, then took the contract and began to read. Article 1. You must wear the employer's designated clothing and perform official duties. Article 2. You must be available at any time. What kind of contract is this? This is clearly your personal attendant. Su Yingying protested angrily, slamming the contract on the table. That's perfectly reasonable. Do you see any clause in it that violates the law? Or any that infringes on your privacy? Or anything else? Xi Yingwen explained nonchalantly. Have you ever seen a bodyguard act like this? I'm telling you, I won't do it. This isn't a bodyguard's job at all. Su Yingying turned away in anger, her eyes gleaming with determination. Something inside her kept reminding her, don't do it. Have you thought about it? You don't have to do it. Your sister can't take her away. You can leave now. Xi Yingwen said, picking up the contract and walking out of the room. He was in high spirits, a smug smile on his face. I'm telling you, I'm going to call the police on you. Su Yingying's intolerance was unbearable. Just because you have money, you can control others at will? Dream on. She wouldn't let such a person succeed. Hey, you could call the police. Do you want me to give you the number of the local police station? It's the fastest way. Xi Yingwen returned and told her with a grin. Think carefully. Your sister is safe and sound, enjoying my carefree hospitality. You're also safe and sound, enjoying excellent treatment. But that day at Bio Plaza, you injure one of my men without a word. I have all the evidence. So, will you still choose to call the police? Don't think I'm afraid of you just because of this. You were the ones who knocked over my electric bike that day, and it was your men's incompetence that caused the injuries. Su Yingying put her hands on her hips, furious. How about I tell you the truth? The car parked there wasn't mine. I just happened to be waiting for my driver downstairs from the mall. So, your car being knocked over had nothing to do with us, Xi Yingwen said, leaning against the door frame. Are you telling the truth? Su Yingying found it hard to believe. She only remembered thinking that the man in front of her must have moved her hand and done something immoral. She never imagined that her impulsive actions would lead her to this point. Don't believe me? I can go to that mall and pull up the surveillance video for you. Knowing she was in the wrong, Su Yingying reluctantly signed the contract, officially becoming Xi Yingwen's personal bodyguard. Take me to see my sister. Su Yingying emerged from the dressing room wearing a slim-fitting halter dress, her hair draped in curls over her shoulders. Shamefully, she was also wearing the high heels she always despised. She'd known that, after years of martial arts training, high heels had become a taboo for her. Those outfits made her look like a lotus flower emerging from clear water, pure and spotless. While beautiful, she didn't choose to look that way. Xi Yingwen looked her up and down with satisfaction, ignoring Su Yingying's questions while complimenting his own aesthetic. Let me be frank, you can't move in this outfit. If anything happens to you, don't blame me for not protecting you properly. Su Yingying looked up at him, her eyes filled with disdain. Xi Yingwen smiled silently. The phone in his pocket vibrated, and he turned to answer it. Hello, Yingwen, why haven't you arrived yet? I've been waiting for you for a long time. A sweet, nagging voice came from the other end of the line. Xi Yingwen's expression remained impassive. I'll be there soon. Just a moment. Without paying any attention to what the other party said, he hung up. He then walked over to Su Yingying and softly asked, Are you ready? If you're ready, let's go. This time, his tone was free of joking. His seriousness forced Su Yingying to take a second look at him. Thick, dark eyebrows, narrow eyes, a high nose bridge, and thin lips. Putting aside the fact that he'd forced her to be his personal bodyguard, he was truly a handsome man. His skin was spotlessly fair, and he exuded a charming, noble aura. He certainly didn't seem like the kind of scooter who would rudely move her electric bike. Do all rich kids look like this? Su Yingying muttered inwardly with disdain. She nodded and followed Xi Yingwen out of the room. After getting into the luxury car, Xi Yingwen remained distracted, playing with his phone. Su Yingying's opinion of him had changed significantly since she learned he wasn't responsible. She was simply unwilling to accept the loss of her autonomy, having been forced to serve as a bodyguard. Half an hour later, the car arrived at its destination. Su Yingying stepped out and looked up at the towering, luxurious building. The massive sculpture of a moon and stars in front of the building was a symbol of wealth and prosperity. She had always stopped by the sight of it. But today, under strange circumstances, she had arrived there. Listen to me later and remember to act convincingly, Xi Yingwen said as he stepped out of the car and looked up at the building. The elevator stopped at the 12th floor. Su Yingying had been walking beside Xi Yingwen for a short while when he pulled her into his arms and said with a wicked smile, "This way, we're more intimate." Su Yingying was confused and struggled to remove his fingers from her shoulder. "Remember, you signed a contract. Breaking it will be costly," Xi Yingwen gently reminded her with a smile. Su Yingying felt deflated. She remembered the liquidated damages written at the bottom of the contract, which far exceeded her ability to pay. To avoid tragedy, she immediately submitted. "Yingwen, here." Si Yuchen, not far away, waved happily when Xi Yingwen's head emerged. But when he saw the woman in his arms, his expression darkened. Xi Yingwen calmly carried Su Yingying to the dining table and personally pulled out a stool for her to sit down. "Who is she?" Si Yuchen asked coldly, his face sullen. "Oh, her? I was just about to introduce her to you. She's my new personal bodyguard. So, what do you think? My taste is pretty good, isn't it?" Xi Yingwen replied with a smile, ignoring the anger in her eyes. "Why hire a woman for your personal bodyguard? And you're so close to her, and dressed like that." Si Yuchen pouted, pulling out a stool for him. Su Yingying understood why Xi Yingwen had her dressed like this, even as a bodyguard. She sat quietly by the side, watching Si Yuchen cling to Xi Yingwen across from her. Her affectation was irritating. Xi Yingwen, using her presence as an excuse, tried every possible means to prevent Si Yuchen from getting too close. When the food arrived, Su Yingying couldn't stand it anymore and picked up her chopsticks to eat. "Stop!" Si Yuchen shouted, standing up. "You're just a bodyguard. What right do you have to eat at the same table with us? Get up!" She walked over to Su Yingying and tugged at her arm, pulling her aside with all her might. "Okay, Yuchen, you're not welcome here by acting like this. In that case, I'll take her and leave immediately. I won't bother you again." Xi Yingwen smiled as she approached the two of them, naturally taking Su Yingying in her arms, and headed out the door. "Hey, Xi Yingwen, stop right there!" Si Yuchen yelled angrily at their retreating figures. However, despite her furious outbursts, Xi Yingwen didn't even turn back. "Isn't that a bit too much? You clearly didn't want to come, so why did you bother?" Su Yingying asked unhappily as they exited the mall. "I'm just using a subtle way to get rid of a clingy and unruly girl. What's so excessive about that?" Xi Yingwen chuckled. "But you'll really hurt her." "Hurt her? She's incredibly strong. You'll have a lot to suffer in the future. Anyway, I'm happy to have cancelled my date today, so I'm taking you somewhere." With that, Xi Yingwen reversed the car and sped off. "Where are you going?" "My sister's home. I need to see her." "Don't worry, your sister's already gone home. I've already explained your reasons for staying here to your family. Just stay here until your contract expires." Xi Yingwen smiled with satisfaction. Su Yingying frowned. "I don't understand. You have enough bodyguards. If you wanted to stop that woman's harassment, you could easily find other women who are 1,000 times better than me. Why do you insist on interrupting my normal life and keeping me here?" Xi Yingwen was driving very fast. He braked suddenly at the sound of his words and turned to approach Su Yingying, who was leaning forward due to inertia. "Because your actions that day successfully piqued my interest. Are you crazy?" Su Yingying screamed in fear. When she looked up and saw the man pressing against her, her face flushed and her heart beat fast for a moment. After she realized what she was doing, she was stunned. What is this? Just because you said you were interested in me, you use this excuse to keep me by your side. Xi Yingwen started the car and smiled broadly. Whatever you think, you're staying. Shame on you. Xi Yingwen drove for over an hour and brought Su Yingying to a completely unfamiliar square. It was surrounded by a large lake, with shops and restaurants in the center. Xi Yingwen pulled her into a restaurant, picked up the menu from the table and tossed it to her. Here, order whatever you want. A full stomach gives you energy for fun. I thought we were somewhere else, but it turns out you've changed your dining area. Su Yingying scoffed. The moment she saw the menu, she was stunned. The price of each dish was enough for her to scrape together enough money for a full meal, and yet this man was letting her order whatever she wanted. How extravagant. But then she thought about his luxurious home, and she didn't think so. After looking at it for a long time, she still had no idea what to order. Every dish was incredibly expensive, and most importantly, she didn't recognize any of them. Seeing her hesitation, Xi Yingwen understood what she was thinking from her expression and immediately took the menu and started ordering. Su Yingying listened in amazement as he repeatedly read out the names of the dishes to the waiter, then asked weakly, I say, are you treating me? Her cautious expression made Xi Yingwen burst into laughter. Of course, it's not right to ask a beautiful woman to pay for dinner. But if you advance your salary to pay for it, I wouldn't refuse. He deliberately leaned closer to her to say the latter part. Yes, how can I refuse when a handsome guy treats me to dinner? Su Yingying replied with a grin. Although the dishes were expensive, their freshness was paramount. In the end, Su Yingying still felt full after finishing all the dishes, but she was too embarrassed to express it explicitly. Are you full? Xi Yingwen wiped his mouth. Full. Thank you for the treat. Su Yingying replied with a blink. As she spoke, she glanced at the plate across from her. It was still a third full. Xi Yingwen had already put down his utensils and sat leisurely beside her, waiting for her. How can a grown man like you only eat this much? Su Yingying immediately regretted asking. Didn't that just prove how much she could eat? However, Xi Yingwen simply smiled and called over another serving for her. With a bloated stomach, Su Yingying, led by Xi Yingwen, passed through the hotel entrance and stepped out of the mall. The moment she stepped out, she was stunned. The lake was ablaze with colorful neon lights, their dazzling reflections reflected on the surface, creating a magnificent and breathtaking scene. Boats decorated in various shapes floated on the surface. It was 10 times more beautiful than the city's nightscape, something Su Yingying had never seen before. There's a lantern show going on tonight. Want to go? Xi Yingwen whispered in her ear. Yes. Xi Yingwen purchased 2 tickets through a special channel. The two of them made their way through the crowd to the center of the square, immersing themselves in the lights. The shimmering lights and bustling sounds of the surroundings overwhelmed them. Su Yingying couldn't contain her excitement and pulled out her phone for Xi Yingwen to take a picture. Invigorated by the vibrant atmosphere, Su Yingying excitedly dragged Xi Yingwen along, sometimes rowing, sometimes dancing on the illuminated stage, having a blast. After tiring themselves, they sat down at a lounge bar to drink milk tea. Su Yingying couldn't help but burst out laughing at the sight of Xi Yingwen, wearing a little white rabbit halo. She didn't know why she was so open-minded after just meeting this stranger, but since she was so happy, she didn't want to think about anything else. Xi Yingwen looked at the thing with disdain. If Su Yingying hadn't forced it on him at the store, he would never have worn such an embarrassing thing. He was about to take it off when Su Yingying stopped him. Don't take it off, don't take it off. It's so cute, she said, pulling out her phone to take a photo. Xi Yingwen raised his head in protest, only to see a familiar figure outside the glass window. With a start, he jumped up and hid behind the lounge bar counter, pulling Su Yingying with him. Curiously, Su Yingying followed his gaze and saw an older man outside the window, followed by several bodyguards, walking toward the mall's central lobby. She looked from the man to Xi Yingwen and noticed a resemblance between them. Hey, what's your relationship with that guy? Why do I feel like he looks a bit like you? Xi Yingwen remained silent for a moment, his face sullen. After the man had left, he said, we can't stay here anymore. Let's go back. The man walking past the window was Xiaotian, his father. He had actually forgotten that he was involved in the lantern show. If he discovered he was here with a girl, the consequences would be disastrous. Xi Yingwen remained silent on the way back, and Su Yingying tactfully kept quiet. Soon, the two returned to the house. Xi Yingwen gave the servants a few instructions and went upstairs. Su Yingying, baffled, sat on the sofa downstairs. She opened her phone and saw a message from her sister, Su Shanshan, "I've arrived home safely. How are you doing over there?" Su Yingying bewilderedly questioned her sister, only to discover she had no idea she'd been forced to serve as a personal bodyguard. She pondered for a moment and fabricated an excuse. She'd found a relaxing job as a bodyguard and was too busy with official duties to return home. The servant led Su Yingying to her room and left. As she washed and lay in bed, Su Yingying realized it was all a dream. From then on, Xi Yingwen would take Su Yingying with him wherever he went, using the excuse of being a personal bodyguard. As a result, everyone around Xi Yingwen automatically assumed they were in a relationship. Xiao, what kind of person is Su Yingying? Why does the young master dote on her so much? In my opinion, she'll most likely become the young master's wife. Really? That would be a blessing. Xi Yingwen had just returned from outside with Su Yingying. As they entered the courtyard, they overheard two servants, who were tending to the flowers and plants, whispering to each other. Their every word reached them. Wife? Interesting. Xi Yingwen smirked at Su Yingying. Su Yingying blushed and nudged him with her elbow. Although their casual after-dinner chatter was just a passing remark, Su Yingying took it seriously. For a while now, Xi Yingwen had been using her not only as a bodyguard but also as a change of clothes, serving tea and food, and acting as a shield against the numerous spies who were out to get him. While she was nominally his personal bodyguard, she felt their relationship was more like that of a boyfriend and girlfriend. Moreover, she felt that as they spent more time together, her heart had involuntarily begun to drift elsewhere, to the point that she often recalled their time together before falling asleep, sometimes even smiling. Yingying. Xi Yingwen's voice echoed outside as Su Yingying was lost in thought. She opened the door and saw Xi Yingwen leaning against it, holding a freshly changed coat. A smile played on his face as he asked, "Which sounds better, calling me wife or Yingying?" "Stop it." Su Yingying blushed, snatching her clothes and going downstairs. The next day, she woke up on time as usual, but went to Xi Yingwen's room and knocked for a long time, but no one opened the door. She felt puzzled, and then the servant downstairs heard the noise and ran up to tell her that Xi Yingwen had left before she woke up. Su Yingying found it strange. This hadn't happened in months, and this time, Xi Yingwen didn't seem to have given her any instructions. So, for the first time, she was completely idle in this mansion, which gave her time to truly appreciate this magnificent place. However, after spending so much time with Xi Yingwen, she suddenly felt a sense of emptiness inside, now alone. Xi Yingwen didn't return until the evening. Su Yingying lay in bed, listening for any noises outside, but there was no sign of anything. She called the people he usually kept with him, but no one replied. She tossed and turned in bed for a long time, unable to fall asleep. As she drifted off, there was a loud thud, and a heavy rain began to fall. She guessed Xi Yingwen wouldn't be home tonight, and with a wave of disappointment in her heart, she forced herself to sleep. As she drifted off to sleep, she heard a loud commotion outside. She ran outside to see that it was Xi Yingwen. His men were helping him upstairs, his clothes soaking wet. He walked past her with his head bowed and his hands hanging down, and the strong smell of alcohol wafted through her. With the help of her and her men, Xi Yingwen was finally dressed in dry clothes. He lay in bed, eyes tightly closed, a pained expression on his face, mumbling something incoherent that Su Yingying couldn't understand. She questioned his men, but they looked at her and just shook their heads. After they left, she returned to her room. It was already 4 in the morning, and Su Yingying yawned and finally drifted off to sleep. When she woke up the next day, it was already 10. The incident the previous night had disrupted her body clock, causing her to sleep through it all. She immediately dressed and left, only to find Xi Yingwen's door closed. She checked with the servants and learned he hadn't gotten up yet. She didn't want to disturb him, but remembering Xi Yingwen's pain the previous night made her uneasy. After some deliberation, she decided to go in and check. After knocking for a long time with no response, she forced her way in. She found Xi Yingwen curled up in bed, his lips pale and sweaty. She touched his forehead and realized he had a high fever. For a moment, everyone in the house was in a state of panic. Finally, Su Yingying managed to find someone to treat him, and even after the doctor left that evening, she remained by his bedside. By the time Xi Yingwen's fever began to subside, it was already evening. Su Yingying had been so engrossed in his care that she had forgotten to eat. She went outside to check, but found the kitchen light off. So she returned to her room to continue watching, figuring she wouldn't return until Xi Yingwen's fever had completely subsided. But she was so sleepy and hungry that she soon fell asleep while lying on the edge of the bed. In the middle of the night, she felt something stirring and looked up, only to find Xi Yingwen awake. The servants were asleep, so she had to run up and down the stairs, bringing him tea and water, feeding him food and medicine. After finally finishing, she sat down to wait for Xi Yingwen to have a bowl of porridge, only to doze off again. As she dozed off against the desk, she suddenly felt her body stir. She opened her eyes and found herself in Xi Yingwen's arms. Panicked, she tried to get off the bed, but Xi Yingwen forced him down. His pale face now had a hint of color, and he glared at Su Yingying with a wicked smile. "You'll stay here and take care of me. You, what are you going to do?" Su Yingying asked in panic. "Me? Of course I want to repay you for taking care of me." He leaned down and kissed her lips. The next day, Su Yingying woke up and leaped to her feet at the unfamiliar ceiling. She looked at Xi Yingwen, still soundly asleep beside her, then at her own naked body beneath the covers. To stifle a scream, she bit the covers with all her might, a mixture of emotions welling up inside her. She quietly got out of bed, put on her clothes, and scurried out of Xi Yingwen's room. After what had happened, she felt she couldn't afford to stay there any longer, so she returned to her room, gathered her belongings, and fled the house while no one was watching. Once outside, she suddenly realized she had nowhere else to go. If she went home, Xi Yingwen would surely find her. After much deliberation, she decided to go to her sister's workplace. Her sister, Su Shanshan, had a lower education than she did, so she could only make a living working ordinary jobs in a small town. To avoid burdening the family, she found a job with free food and lodging, which provided her with a place to stay with Su Yingying. Xi Yingwen woke up with a slight headache. Rubbing his eyes, he remembered what happened last night. He sat up and found Su Yingying was gone. He lifted the quilt and saw a startling red smear, forcing a wry smile. There was pain, regret, but mostly joy. He dressed and went out to look for Su Yingying, but they searched the entire house for her, but they couldn't find her. He sent his men out to look for her, but they searched all day long to no avail. He was truly anxious. For the first time, he felt he couldn't live without Su Yingying. He later sent someone to inquire about her sister, and that's when he learned of her whereabouts. "Su Yingying, your contract hasn't even expired yet, and you dare to act so recklessly," Xi Yingwen angrily declared, standing at the street entrance. Su Yingying angrily retorted, "You forced me to do this. You didn't say I couldn't leave if something unexpected happened. I'm telling you, I'm never going back here again. Just let me go and go back, or I'll beat you up." Xi Yingwen's face turned green with rage. "You were the one who went to my room that night, and I was a virgin. You have to take responsibility for me. You, shut up." Su Yingying rushed forward and covered his mouth with her hands, her eyes filled with panic. She wanted to punch this shameless bastard. He was clearly responsible. "So what? Do you want to come back with me?" Xi Yingwen challenged. "Is anyone as shameless as you?" Su Yingying said, nearly crying, slapping his chest repeatedly with both hands. Xi Yingwen grabbed her hand and stared at her. "Don't you just want to be with me? What do you mean? Be my girlfriend? What? Did I hear that right?" Su Yingying stared at Xi Yingwen in surprise, her heartbeat racing. "Is this true? Can you say that again? I like you. Please be my girlfriend. Xi Yingwen repeated. On the way home, Su Yingying felt awkward because of these words. She knew she was happy deep down, but it only made her feel more restrained. Wife, come here, Xi Yingwen said seductively, arms outstretched, as they sat in the car. What are you talking about? There are people here. Su Yingying asked nervously. What are you afraid of? Calling me wife sounds much nicer than calling me Yingying, don't you think? Xi Yingwen said, leaning over and kissing her lips. After they were together, Xi Yingwen became a complete scoundrel, constantly trying to cling to Su Yingying, showering her with gifts. He practically doted on her until she was dizzy. But she had always been curious about why Xi Yingwen had come home so disheveled that night. She had tried to ask him, but he always evaded the question with other topics. She shifted her focus to his subordinates, but they refused to discuss the matter and instead warned her not to ask again. Su Yingying had no choice but to give up. At the Si family villa, Si Yuchen was finishing breakfast and putting on makeup to get ready to go out with friends when she suddenly received a call. It was from someone close to Xi Yingwen. Long ago, she had used her beauty to win the heart of one of Xi Yingwen's subordinates, and since then, they had been constantly reporting Xi Yingwen's whereabouts and movements to her. This call was about Xi Yingwen and Su Yingying being together. Her face, fresh from her makeup, immediately fell. Su Yingying, you little bitch. I'm going to skin you alive. Sister Yingying, the young master told you to go to the cafe on Yanghe Street. He's waiting there. Su Yingying had just gotten up that morning and finished showering when Xi Yingwen's men arrived to inform her. She glanced around, but Xi Yingwen was nowhere to be seen in the house. What's this guy up to again? With that, she immediately dressed and prepared to go. Since they'd started dating, Xi Yingwen had always been secretive about his various ways to amuse her, and now she hadn't suspected anything. On the way there, she fondly recalled their dating days. Although Xi Yingwen had always been considerate of her, women have a keen intuition about relationships. Deep down, she felt that Xi Yingwen didn't like her as much as she'd imagined, or perhaps he liked her but didn't love her. This thought flashed through her mind, but she forced herself to ignore it. She walked to the cafe and sat down at her familiar seat, casually picking up a magazine and patiently waiting for her beloved to arrive. After a while, a menacing figure appeared before her. She frowned and slowly raised her head, only to be met with a slap across her face. You bitch! You talk about a personal bodyguard? It's clear to me you are clinging to Yingwen this way just to curry favor with him. Si Yuchen stood across from her, his teeth bared as he roared. Su Yingying rubbed her face, then glanced at Si Yuchen, who looked unmistakably like a shrew. She stood up and slapped him. You can't charm him yourself, so you take it out on me? I tell you, you've got the wrong person. She glared at Si Yuchen, her eyes firm and fierce. Si Yuchen stared at her in disbelief. From childhood to adulthood, no one had ever dared to treat her like this. Someone come. Fuming with rage, she shouted out the door. Several men in black rushed in, fanning out around Si Yuchen with a ferocious, cold aura. I'm telling you, if you leave Xi Yingwen, I'll spare your life for now. Otherwise, don't blame me for settling all the old and new scores. Si Yuchen said with a smug look, his arms folded. Su Yingying glanced at the group, still a little worried. She hadn't used her fists or kicked in ages, even less exercise, following Xi Yingwen. It was too much for her to handle so many at once. She could only pray that they were paper tigers, seemingly menacing. Really? Don't forget, I'm Yingwen's personal bodyguard. So, you're miscalculating. With that, she flipped the table with one hand, shoved Si Yuchen to the ground, punched the nearest person twice, disrupting their formation, and then slipped away. As she ran, she was thankful she hadn't arrived wearing a skirt or high heels. She got into a taxi just before the men caught up with her. She finally breathed a sigh of relief when she reached Xi Yingwen's house. As she climbed the stairs, she muttered to herself, women these days are truly formidable. It was a good thing she knew some basic martial arts, otherwise she'd have struggled to protect herself. Where have you been? I've been looking for you for ages. Xi Yingwen, dressed in pajamas, asked condescendingly from the top of the stairs. After a moment's thought, So Ying decided to keep the matter under wraps. Otherwise, given the personalities of these two, there would likely be more trouble later. Since everything was fine, she decided not to pursue it. Me? A friend came over and went out for a while. She said this as she scurried off to her room. This time, Si Yuchen hadn't gained anything by demonstrating against So Ying, and she had lost face. She couldn't swallow this humiliation. After much deliberation, she decided to pull out a drastic measure, use someone else's hand to eliminate So Ying. At the foot of the Xi family company building, Si Yuchen looked up at the towering structure and then stepped inside in her high heels. She was the only one Xiaotian had designated as the Xi family's daughter-in-law. Although she and Xi Yingwen weren't engaged yet, it was bound to happen sooner or later. Now that the man's side was in trouble, Xiaotian would defend her, even for the sake of face. Uncle, while Yingwen and I aren't engaged yet, it won't be long. We used to have a great relationship, but now something unexpected has happened. That woman pretended to be Yingwen's personal bodyguard, but shamelessly seduced him, and now she's even his girlfriend. If this continues, won't the agreement between our families become a joke soon? And not only does she have no family background, but her behavior is also incredibly rude. In Xiaotian's office, Si Yuchen feigned a pitiful expression and cried. Xiaotian, a man of medium build across from him, with an imposing, stern expression, slammed his hand on the table upon hearing this. How outrageous! Once wasn't enough, but you're doing it a second time. Finally, he told Si Yuchen that he would handle the matter. So Ying was in a rare good mood. With nothing else to do, she suddenly wanted to try the dumpling making method her sister had taught her. So she dragged Xi Yingwen to the supermarket, bought a bunch of ingredients, and then happily went into the kitchen to get to work. Xi Yingwen, unable to bear the loneliness, came to make trouble. The two of them were tussling in the kitchen when a servant outside suddenly shouted, "Master, you're here." Startled, Xi Yingwen quickly dropped his work and prepared to leave, but it was too late. Xiaotian personally entered the kitchen and caught them red-handed. "Are you that shameless woman? Do you know who owns this house? How dare you live here?" Xiaotian said slowly, sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed. "She's my hired bodyguard. If you need anything, come to me." Xi Yingwen said sternly, dropping his usual mischievous demeanor. "Take him away. He's not even allowed to speak yet." Xiaotian shouted angrily. A group of people rushed over to drag him away, but Xi Yingwen stopped them. "Who dares? Come on, kick these uninvited guys out." However, among his many men, few dared to step forward. "Have you forgotten? I gave you this house. I can take it away at any time." Xiaotian, unfazed, grabbed him by the collar and threatened. Xi Yingwen sneered. "This isn't the first time you've done the same thing. Do you want this tragedy to happen again? You?" Xiaotian pointed at his face, seeing his fearless, even provocative, look and slapped him. "Sooner or later, you'll pay the price for your willfulness. If you don't want to regret it, you'd better do as I say and sever ties with this woman immediately." With that, he stormed out of the house with his men. Xi Yingwen collapsed to the ground, a self-deprecating, painful smile on his face. So Ying remained silent throughout. She recognized the man she had met at the bar at the Lantern Festival that day. Based on his age and appearance, she suspected he was Xi Yingwen's father. This ferocious interrogation made her reconsider whether she had made the right decision in agreeing to be with Xi Yingwen. "Did I scare you just now?" Xi Yingwen asked gently, a gentle smile in his eyes, pulling So Ying closer. "Are we really okay like this?" So Ying expressed a sense of worry. During her time with him, she had never considered anything else. She only knew that if they truly loved each other, what was the harm? But now it seemed the problem was more serious than she had imagined. "It's okay. I'm here. He wouldn't dare do anything to you," Xi Yingwen said, holding her in his arms. That day, So Ying and Xi Yingwen's men were out shopping together when they were stopped by a Land Rover. The car stopped, and a man got out. Ying Ying saw it was Xiaotian. Startled, she called out, "Uncle," in a panic. Xiaotian, wearing glasses, walked over to the two of them and said to Xi Yingwen's men, "You go back first. I have something to say to her." So Ying Ying was taken to a deserted restaurant. She felt extremely uncomfortable with the pressure he exuded, but she had no choice but to do as he asked. "This is 1 million. I don't want to overdo it, nor do I want things to be too complicated. So take it as far as you can. Yingwen is not the right person for you." Xiaotian took a check from his subordinate and placed it on the table, saying coldly. So Ying Ying couldn't help but sneer inwardly. If she took the 1 million, would that be considered money she'd earned by selling her body? She glanced up at Xiaotian and felt a wave of disgust, a distaste for someone who disregarded the dignity of others and always seemed to be superior. Deep down, she didn't want money to buy the sincerity she'd given. So, her pride got the better of her, and she sneered, 1 million is a huge sum for poor people like us. I really want to take it, but your Xi Yingwen owes me more than that, so don't waste your time. With that, she stood up and left. Her heart was still pounding as she left. There was no way around it. This uncle had cultivated himself, somehow, he felt like a spirit. His aura was truly suffocating. Stop. Don't refuse a toast and then drink the forfeit. Xiaotian stood up and roared angrily. So Ying Ying walked out of the restaurant without looking back, fearing that if she turned back, she would be so frightened that she would give in. Stop her. Xiaotian, not intending to let her get away, shouted at the top of his lungs. The guards outside the door closed in on her, blocking her path. So Ying Ying looked over and saw only 4 of them, figuring she could handle them. However, she had been too optimistic. Xiaotian's bodyguards were no match for Xi Yingwen's. With her limited skills, defeating them was impossible. So she resorted to strategizing and cleverly escaped the 4 men's encirclement. Though she managed to escape, the situation wasn't ideal. She was hit several times and felt like her bones were about to fall apart. If it weren't for the obstacles along the way, she doubted she would have made it. Xi Yingwen, you have a father like this. What am I going to do with you in the future? She found a place to drag her aching body back in a taxi. How did he treat you? Are you hurt anywhere? As soon as they reached the gate, Xi Yingwen rushed out and grasped her shoulder. He nervously looked left and right, his eyes full of panic. Ah! His pinch hit the spot where she was injured, causing her to cry out in pain. But she was still happy to see Xi Yingwen so concerned for her. Love was sometimes like a good medicine. Though she was clearly in pain, seeing Xi Yingwen's worried face made it seem nothing. It's okay, just a minor injury. No need to be so nervous, So Ying Ying replied gently. She looked Xi Yingwen up and down. He was wearing his outdoor clothes and hadn't even tied his shoelaces in his panic. She guessed that someone she'd been shopping with had told him what had happened. You're still okay even after being injured like this? Xi Yingwen yelled, dragging her into the room, fetching the medicine box, and beginning to apply medicine. Several bruises were on her back, and Xi Yingwen undressed her without a word. Hey you rascal! Su Ying glanced at the servants surrounding her and panically clutched her chest. It's not like I've seen it before, so what's there to be afraid of? She stubbornly continued undressing, only realizing the gravity of the situation halfway through. He buttoned her half-undressed clothes, yelled at the people around her, and then dragged Su Ying upstairs. Chairman, what do you think we should do next? In the chairman's office, one of his men approached, bringing Su Shanshan with him. Xiaotian glanced at someone who bore a passing resemblance to Su Ying and asked, Are you Su Shanshan? Yes, may I ask what you want me for? Su Shanshan replied timidly, surveying the luxurious office with curiosity. Su Ying is your sister, isn't she? Xiaotian pressed on. What did you do with her? Su Shanshan, subconsciously classifying these people as ruthless killers, asked loudly, her voice tense. Don't worry, she's doing well. I'm her employer. I know your family isn't well off, but we're hiring you at her request. You won't have to grovel in such a small place anymore. Xiaotian tried to maintain a gracious expression. Really? So Shan couldn't help but be tempted. Although she worked an ordinary job in a small place, she always felt she was capable of doing something better and more promising. No, I don't believe you. If it were true, Ying would have told me herself. After the heartbeat, reason returned, and so Shan became wary. Xiaotian stroked his hair, stood up, and pulled out his phone. He scrolled through the forged message from earlier this morning and said, "Look, this is a message she sent me. She's been on a business trip for the past 2 days, and even I didn't dare disturb her, so how could she have the time to tell you this? She knew you wouldn't believe it, so she sent me the message and told me to come see you as soon as she got back." So Shan looked at it suspiciously for a long time, and only after confirming it was Su Ying's number did she slowly let go of her suspicions. What if I don't want to? After a long pause, she still had some doubts. Oh? Really? Ying told me personally that you'd definitely be happy to do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have come all this way to see you. But now it seems she lied. Xiaotian said regretfully. Since she said so, I choose to stay. So Shanshan's doubts were finally resolved. She saw this as a rare opportunity on her path to success, and she was filled with joy. Okay, you, take her to the company to familiarize her with the environment. She'll start work tomorrow, Xiaotian said with satisfaction, gesturing to his staff. So Shan followed the group on a tour of the massive company. The equipment, the environment, and everything else filled her with both novelty and excitement. For her, this was an opportunity she couldn't even dream of. She was both afraid she wouldn't be up to the job and excited about the changes that lay ahead. After 2 days of recuperation at Yingwen's house, her swelling and pain had finally healed considerably. Just as she was contemplating Xiaotian's next move, she suddenly received a text from her sister, Ying. "Thank you." "Thank me for what?" she asked. A bewildering reply. "Thank you for giving me the job. I finally have the chance to realize my dream, Ying. When I succeed, I'll buy you anything you want." Another reply quickly followed. So Ying still didn't understand, but her intuition told her something bad was happening. Then, a text message rang from an unfamiliar number. She clicked on it and saw a photo of her sister. So Shan was in an office, flanked by other staff members and Xiaotian's subordinates. The Xi family company's distinctive logo adorned the office wall. At the bottom of the photo, a message read, "If you don't want Su Shan to get hurt, please leave Xi Yingwen immediately, or she won't see the sun the next day. Do not tell Xi Yingwen now." Below the message, Xi Yingwen's father was mentioned. Su Ying was immediately panicked. That damned Xiaotian had actually tricked her sister into joining the company. After spending so much time with Xi Yingwen, she knew that the company was completely under his control. She desperately thought of how to rescue her sister, and the thought of leaving Xi Yingwen was already forming in her mind. "What are you staring at?" Xi Yingwen snatched her phone from behind and began to read. "Give it back to me." Su Ying remembered the warning on the text message and immediately stood up to grab it. However, it was too late. The phone was on the page with the text message, and Xi Yingwen had already read the entire message. His face darkened. "I'll go find him and ask him for an explanation." With that, he strode out the door, unable to stop Su Ying. She had rarely seen Xi Yingwen this angry. She figured he had lost his mind. Going out wouldn't solve the problem, but might even get her into trouble. After much deliberation, she decided to go with him. At the car in the yard, Su Ying reached out to Xi Yingwen, who was about to open the door. "You can't go. If you go, that old man won't let you back." Based on past experience, Xi Yingwen knew what was going to happen next. "But if you go, my sister will die. Didn't you see the text message where he specifically emphasized not letting you know?" Su Ying pleaded. "Don't worry, I have my own way." He waved to his 2 men, and the 3 of them got in the car and headed out. Su Ying felt uneasy about his departure, feeling a constant sense of uncertainty as to what lay ahead. She sat alone on the living room sofa, her hands tangled nervously. Now, she felt like a lamb to the slaughter, knowing bad things were about to happen but powerless to stop them. She hated the feeling of being out of control. "Master, where are we going now?" the man behind the wheel asked after pulling onto the main road. "To the company, to rescue her sister first," Xi Yingwen said after a moment's thought. The car accelerated, and seeing the two forked roads ahead, Xi Yingwen pointed to the left one. "Go this way, and get there as quickly as possible." He was all too familiar with Xiaotian's ways. He'd promised to kill So Shanshan, and if his goal wasn't achieved, he'd certainly do it. He had the ability to suppress it anyway. There was a shortcut on the left, all good except for the slightly difficult route, and it also offered a discreet escape. Xi Yingwen chose this route because he wanted to reach the company before Xiaotian discovered him. The shortcut was sparsely populated, with little traffic, allowing them to travel unimpeded. But Xi Yingwen soon regretted not checking the almanac before leaving today. 3 cars suddenly drove up in front of their car, completely surrounding them. After they stopped, more than a dozen people emerged, all armed. Xi Yingwen was startled to see the leader. These were enemies of the Xi family, long ago. They'd rarely been active in recent years, and it was surprising they'd be there today. "Get out!" The men outside rudely tapped on their car windows with sticks. Xi Yingwen forced himself to calm down, quickly texted Su Yingying's location, and then called her. He hid his phone in the car and got out.
Let's stop reading the novel here. See you in the next chapter. Please follow us.